everybody, to the Adult Chair. I'm Pete Wright, and I'm here once again with Michelle Chalfant.
Happy Valentine's Week, Pete.
Oh, happy Valentine's Week to you.
Thank you.
Are you guys, you and your kind and heroic spouse, do you woo one another successfily on Valentine's Week? Is that kind of a tradition?
You just created some anxiety for me because I'm thinking, oh my God, what am I doing with him? You know what? That part of my brain does not work that well. The gift giving part, it like shuts down. I get so stressed. I never know what to get for people, but I'm good at dialoguing and writing really beautiful cards. But,
there you go. Well, I'm with you. I'm really terrible at gift giving. I try so hard, but I overthink it. I immediately think, well, whatever my gut would tell me this person would love is probably not enough.
Right, exactly.
And I need to put it away and find something perfect. And the problem is, because I have people in my kid's godfather is the most unbelievable gift giver. They're not expensive. They're not they're just perfect. They're perfect. Everything he gives to everyone is perfection. And that sets a bar that is so hard to live up to.
I totally have someone like that in my life, too, and it stresses me out.
It stresses me out.
I can relate. I can relate.
Before we get started, just to let everybody know, if you want to learn more about the show, if you're listening to the show on the web, we sure appreciate it if you head over to iTunes, subscribe to the show for free, and just search for it in the little search box, and or your podcatcher of choice. Most podcast apps on the in their app stores use the iTunes as the back end, so you can search the podcast directory for The Adult Chair, and you can subscribe to us. Make sure you never miss an episode. Of course, you can find us on the web. You can just type in theadultchair.com. That'll get you straight to the page you're looking for. And if you're looking for some help on how to listen to the show easily, we even have a little instruction page up there. But most importantly, and this is a thing I'm really excited about, beginning this week, you can call us and leave us a voicemail. We would love to have your voice on the show. If you have a reaction to the show, a response to the show, a question for Michelle that you would like to hear her parse on the show, please call us. The number to call us is 931-463-3813. 931-463-3813. And we will, of course, put that on the website as well. So please give us a call. Let us know what you're thinking.
I would love that. Please call. I love questions and would love to answer them on the show. So give us a call.
Can I just tell you about last week's show?
Mm-hmm.
That was so great. And let me tell you, I'll tell you why it was so great. So it has come up almost every day since we recorded it. It has come up for me. Just in life. I was having coffee with a dear friend yesterday, and we were talking about this very issue. It just suddenly slammed in that she was having this challenge of living in an assumption, living in the narrative that she was creating. And we talked about it. I introduced her to the show, and it is. She sent me an email saying that ended up being very impactful. This idea that we're not living in what is true and what is fact. And that was such a helpful conversation for me.
I'm so glad to hear that. Yeah,
huge.
That podcast from last week on stories and assumptions, really just that whole idea of being a story buster, it really does change us because we realize how much we live in stories and assumptions. It's all day. Like these ideas just come in, and when we can start busting them and living in fact and truth, it changes everything.
Absolutely. So cool. I feel like we need a T-shirt or like a Storybuster superhero.
I like that.
Some sort of a crime fighter.
Sounds good.
Yes. Any artists in the audience who have ideas for crime-fighting superhero called Storybuster.
Storybusters.
We'll put it on a shirt.
I love it.
Today we are taking on. We're taking on the Cupid today. It's Valentine's week, and so we're going to talk about what it takes to have a truly successful relationship. Mm-hmm. I guess we should start by defining what, to you, is a truly successful relationship.
Boy, to me, it's pretty simple. If we're going to talk about the adult chair, it's all about living from one adult chair to the other in relationship with your partner. It's it. It's really simple. In other words, are you living in the moment with them? Are you living in truth with them? Are you setting healthy boundaries with them? Are you able to be vulnerable with them? That's really a key. And I really want to talk more about that today, because it's hard just to say, well, you have to live in your adult. And most people will say, well, I am. No, you're not. And the thing that gets really tricky in relationships is that we find our partners from our adolescent chair. So we become attracted to somebody, that hormonal haze kind of comes over our eyes. Right. And for about 6 to 12 months, we have no idea really what's happening because we're fantasizing and everything's wonderful. We certainly are not seeing truth, and we're numbing ourselves out to the red flags. We don't even want to see them. We're in denial. We just deny them. It's like, oh, no, it's no big deal that they did that, and they'll change. And a lot of people say, well, when we get married, that'll change. Or after a year, I'm sure that'll change. And it doesn't. It doesn't, because we are who we are. We come together in relationship, which is the other thing people forget is we all have childhood wounding. You can't be human and not have that. We just do. And some people have worse wounding than others, but we all have it. So again, in another podcast, we talked about triggering. Mm-hmm. We all get triggered in relationships. So how do we have successful relationships after that 1 year of that hormonal haze, after that settles out? What then? And many people come to me in relationship with their spouse, and even not married, and they just say, we really love each other, but we're not working. Something's not right. We don't know what to do.
And how do you define that? Because it seems to me like it's, like you say, it's easy to say, well, we just got to live in our adult chair, make sure that to have a successful relationship, we're both communicating from adult chair to adult chair. But when your relationship is not successful, that implies that there is misalignment. Somebody's sitting in the wrong chair.
Exactly.
And if you're the one sitting in the wrong chair, it's much more difficult to diagnose. If you're the one in the adult chair, it's fairly easy. I think it would be easier to see, oh my goodness, we're not in alignment.
It is. And when we practice this just with ourselves, sitting more and more and more in our adult chair, we can start seeing the world through a different lens. And we can see when our partner is, oh my God, they're judging me, or they're making up a story, an assumption. And again, we never judge from the adult chair, but we might point it out in a loving way. But I wanted to talk about today, if we can do this over the air versus like live and in person or even on a video, how can we dialogue with our partner in a really healthy way that actually creates healing in the relationship? And this is, again, something that I teach. This is a part of this whole process of living in the adult chairs in a couple, or in a partnership. This is a dialogue that I teach everybody that comes into my door. And it has, again, changed more relationships than I can speak of. So if we can, let's try and do it on air.
Yes.
And just a little bit of a background is that the thing that really lacks in a lot of relationships is vulnerability. What's her name? Brene Brown talks about it. It's people have talked about it for many, many years, but vulnerability is really getting into our true emotions, into our heart. It's showing the world, but most importantly, that other person, our partner, who we really are on the inside. What are we feeling? The way I see it is it's like, I'm handing you my heart. Please don't drop it. Can I trust you enough that you won't drop it and that you'll hold it for me? So that's being vulnerable to me.
Okay.
So we want to teach that in our relationship, or learn it in relationship. So that is one of the things that I teach with my clients. So, this dialogue, it's so simple, it just takes practice. So in order to cultivate this in a relationship, one person, the way that I would set it up in chairs is one person becomes the adult or stays in the adult, and the other person really is stepping into their child, because we're in our vulnerable state from the child chair. That's the part of us, remember, that has true feelings and true needs. So if you and I were in relationship, Pete, mm-hmm. There is one person that is the sharer, or the child, let's say, the person that needs to share something, and then one person that's going to be the listener or the receiver. So you want to be the sharer? You want to do this with me?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do it.
Okay.
What am I sharing?
let's just pretend
Okay.
that I'm traveling a lot with my job. I'm just going to come up with something here. Let's just pretend that I'm traveling a lot with my job. You feel really sad because I'm working all the time. I'm not spending any time with the kids. You really miss me. Something like this, okay? So if we were in relationship, you might come to me and say something like, hey, can we talk? There's been a lot on my mind. I really want to talk. That to me says, okay, hold on. My person wants to share. My partner wants to share. So I know to buckle into my adult chair. I'm going to buckle in and actively listen without judgment, remember, but just listen and be there for you. Because what I'm noticing is my person wants to give me their heart. So say what I just said to you. Just kind of put it in your own words, but make something up about why you might be upset with me, because maybe I'm just not around all that much, or I'm traveling a lot, or something like that.
Well, this is actually very timely. I just had this conversation with another friend who was dealing with the same thing with her partner, and so the exact same thing. She's traveling a lot, and it was not.
Oh, good. So be him.
Yeah. I feel like I want to talk to you. I need to tell you what happens around here when you're gone. Because I get the feeling that you don't quite understand. I know you're busy and your work is very important, but I just need you to understand what happens. Can we talk about that?
Yes. I want to hear about it. So what I'd like to know is how are you feeling about all this?
It's a very, when you leave, the whole world just sort of changes because, we've got two kids. They go to different schools in different parts of the city. And I'm a teacher. I have to be in a school too at the same time. And so, when you're here, everything moves really nicely. The mechanics are really great because you can, you get in the car and you can drop off one child and I can drop off the other. And we have a system. It's like a machine. But as soon as you leave that machine, just gears start flying everywhere because suddenly I have to get everybody where they need to be at the right time and be at work in time for my own students to be there. And I find myself just living kind of angry all the time. And I know that I'm doing that as a result of like never having talked to you about this. And that part is really frustrating to me.
So I'm hearing you say that you're really angry. And what else are you feeling around all this?
It hurts, and it hurts my feelings because it feels like you're not aware and not considerate. But I guess there's, because, your work has been prioritized over this mess of our home that you leave. Everything becomes just sort of messy, and I get frustrated. The kids get frustrated. We're frustrated with each other because our system is broken down, and I'm trying to find a way to find some peace there, but I would like some help. I guess the other piece is I'm really lonely when you leave, and that's painful.
I feel that. And if I may just take a guess here, I'm feeling you're so overwhelmed.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So I completely hear everything that you're saying. And first of all, I'm sorry. And I want to know, what right now do you need from me? And Pete, just to cut this pause for 1 second, when you respond to this, and you're doing great, I love this, remember, in our child, we're no more than like 10. So I'm not asking you to fix the problem, because that's what the adolescent would do.
Right.
But if you're like 6 and you're telling me what you just told me, you're angry, you're hurt, overwhelmed, lonely, what do you need when you feel those emotions?
I need you to fix it.
No.
I do. I need you to be here with me.
That would be the adolescent response, only because the adolescent wants to fix it. So what I mean by this is, let me give you an example, because this is new for you.
Sure.
So when I feel angry and hurt and overwhelmed and lonely, for right now in this moment, can you just Tell me that you're here for me, and tell me that you hear me. Tell me, give me a hug. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, that's where I was going. That's where I'm going, because, when I think about, I'm sort of channeling my own 8-year-old, right? Who, and when he says, I need you to fix it. I need you to hold me. I need you to give me a hug. I need you to just not, I need you not to leave, right?
There you go.
But not leaving doesn't mean necessarily I don't want you to take any business trips.
Right. Exactly.
It means that when you're gone, when you're preparing to leave, I need you to remind me how much you love me, how much you're holding me, how much I'm in your heart and spirit.
That's it. That's it.
That's what I want.
And then, so if I'm hearing you say that, that is exactly it. So if you're in your child, that's what you'd say. Like, just tell me, that you're here with me and you still love me,
that
and
you understand
you're going to come back.
This.
And yes. And what happens is, so then I would respond and say something like, I can do that. And I would love to do that for you. And I will do that for you. What else do you need from me right now? And then you might say something like, just want a hug. You just give me a hug right now.
Yeah.
And then boom, done. It's so simple. My job is to ask you, what are you feeling? You express all that you're feeling. And what I'm actively listening to you and pulling out those feelings. So like I said, you said angry, hurt, lonely, and I'm sitting, not judging you, not fixing you, but just sitting and hearing and witnessing all that you're saying. And I'm still present with you. The second thing I ask when you are done is, so what do you need from me right now? And you typically, again, if we're in a child place, we want a hug. Mm-hmm. We want to hear I love you. We want to hear you're going to be here for me. Then it's done. Then this dialoguing is done. Now, it doesn't mean we're not going to that I'm not going to make some changes in my job, but this dialoguing that we're doing is not about fixing it in this moment or making changes. It's about helping you feel seen and heard and safe.
And this is what's so funny about even their little role play. As I sort of put myself into this spouse's position, as soon as I'm able to tell you what I need, I almost instinctively feel myself getting up out of the child chair and moving to the adult chair. Like now I'm ready to talk about it.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
like a switch just got flipped. Like now I've gotten it all out in this space, in this safe space that you have made for me, and now we can actually move forward with some logistical changes that we might want to make.
I'm so glad to hear you say that. That's exactly what happens. And what excites me most about this is it's so healing. You don't need a therapist. You don't need a life. You don't need me. All that we need to do in couples is to learn how to dialogue from this vulnerable space without, typically what would happen, by the way, is there'd be judgment from me. This is what typically happens in relationships. So you would start saying, this is what's going on with me. You're gone all the time, blah, blah, blah. So what happens is I may start out in my adult and I slide quickly into my adolescent, which is the ego, and I get defensive. And I'd say, well, what do you expect me to do? I'm trying to make all this money in this house and blah, 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 blah. And I'm going to defend where I'm coming from.
Right.
Which then what does that happen? So then you slide into your adolescent. You're not vulnerable. Your heart is back in you. I've not handled it well. So then you're going to start yelling at me.
All the walls come up. All the
walls come up. It goes into a huge fight. So my job when I'm in the adult as the receiver is to buckle in tight and know that even what you're saying, even though it's real in your life about the kids, and you've got to do all this, and you're a teacher, and all the stuff that you just said. What's going on here is it's triggering old emotional wounds. I'm lonely. I'm angry. I'm overwhelmed. I'm not seen. I'm hurting. So even this is like this big cloud up in the sky, but what's really happening down on the ground is these emotions are coming up for you. And that's what I'm focusing in on. I don't care about what your story is. Because that's how you ultimately connect with your partner, is hearing what they're feeling and not dropping their heart. The moment that I go into my defense and say, well, what the hell, Pete? I'm working hard and I'm bringing in money too. And what do you want me to do? My job requires me to travel all the time, blah, blah, blah. Boom. It's a wall.
Right.
A wall from me and a wall from you. So the questions again are, what do you feel? And did you notice what I did as well is I validated your feelings. You said, I'm really lonely. And I said, yeah.
Here's what I'm hearing you say. Here's what I'm getting from you.
I'm actively listening to you. Meaning I am present moment and present with you completely 100%. And I want to hear you. You know, as kids, so many of us grow up not feeling seen and heard. And we want that more than anything, to feel seen and heard.
Right.
So when I sit with you and I actively listen, I am hearing you. I see you. And then what do you need from me? Boom. And you tell me and I go, I got it. You know, there are times where we just might say, can you just give me a hug? And all of a sudden, boom, you're in your adult chair. I'm still in mine. And then we can resolve this. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So
this was fascinating. And I'll tell you the part that was a little bit, I don't know, saddening for me about having this conversation with my friend is that we were having it because we were celebrating. She was telling me that she ended up getting a promotion that would require her to travel much, much, much less. 2 or 3 trips a year, you know, as opposed to 2 or 3 trips a month. And when she told her husband that, he sort of broke down and said, oh my goodness, I'm so relieved to hear that. And she said, why? He said, well, because, and then they had this conversation. She's like, why have we never talked about this? Why did I not know that this is so hard for you?
Yeah.
That you're lonely, that you're sad, that you're frustrated. You know, those are the sort of things that just kind of sit. They fester.
Exactly. So he made up the stories and assumptions.
Yes.
That, well, she'll probably leave me, or she'll be mad at me, or it's not fair. I don't have a right to speak up. All of this, not true.
Yeah.
Not true, not true, not true. The problem happens in relationships when I'm expressing and my partner goes into fix mode. I'm going to fix you, or I'm going to cheerlead you out of it. Why do you feel sad? You shouldn't feel sad. You've got so much going for you. And we can take this model that you and I just did and apply it into any relationship. With your children, with a friend, with a parent, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So I hear this even in friendship. So when we say to a friend, oh God, I'm just so sad about this, typically what happens? What does the friend do?
You jump into what we think of as the stereotypical model of support.
Exactly.
Which is cheerleading.
It's not support. Support is sitting in it with the person sitting across from you. If they're lonely, I'm going to sit in mine. If they're sad, I will be sad with them. And then together we'll pull out of it. And what happens is typically, if you say I'm really sad, my sadness comes up and I'm triggered. So I want to talk you out of it because you're making me feel bad. Really, because we all walk around very wounded. So if you remember from the triggering podcast, it's like, it's my stuff that's rising up within me. That's why we have to stay buckled into that adult chair. I say to people, super glue your butt into the adult chair when you do this. And remember, whatever that person is saying to you, it's just a story. But underneath it all is this little 5-year-old just saying, I'm sad and I'm lonely. And they just need someone to witness them and hear them. That's it.
What a beautiful lesson.
Oh my God, it changes people. I see it every single week in my practice. I do it at home. I practice this with my kids, with my friends. It truly changes relationships and takes them to this deep level of love.
It is
it's powerful stuff.
Super powerful stuff. And we've mentioned 2 shows you should go back and listen to hear those conversations. The first one is obviously episode 7. We talk about fighting the fables and facing our stories and assumptions. And then what Michelle just mentioned was addressing your triggers, episode 5. And that is another really good one to get a handle on what are our triggers and what do they, where do they take us? 2 great episodes to catch up on if you're just picking up on the show.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Michelle.
Oh, you're welcome. My pleasure. I love this stuff.
That was so much fun.
I know. Wasn't it fun?
So fun. Once again, head over to theadultchair.com. Subscribe to the show. We'd love to hear from you. And call us. Definitely call us.
Please. Yeah. We would love it. Or leave us a review, too. We like that on
Yes,
iTunes.
We love those kind reviews on iTunes, and they really do help other people to find the show. Call us 931-463-3813. On behalf of Michelle Chalfant, I'm Pete Wright. We'll catch you next week on The Adult Chair.